Hi, I'm Cyan. Welcome to my channel. I am going to do a video today about my haunted townhome that I lived in. And if you're wondering, but Cyan, where is that holiday recipe video that won the poll? Look at the last video. It explains all of that, I promise. I was 19 and my friend and I decided to move in and do the roommate thing and move into this townhome. And everything was fine for a few weeks. And I would say probably 6 weeks after moving in, that's when things started to happen. But they weren't that obvious right off the bat. Like my roommate, she had a salt and pepper shaker that she brought to the townhome. And the salt shaker was a ghost and the pepper shaker was a bat. We were both in the living room watching television and we hear a crash. And we both jump up because there is a back door in the kitchen onto our deck. And, we didn't know if somebody had come in the back door or what had happened. So we both jump up and run to the kitchen. And the salt shaker was broken on the floor across the room. And there was salt everywhere. And we couldn't really figure out how that happened. I remember being confused about how the salt shaker got there because it was connected to the bat and they always were on the back of the stove. And even if we had left them, on the front lip of the stove, it wouldn't have gone across the room. It would have fallen directly, beside the stove. And the bat pepper shaker was still at the back of the stove. The first big thing that happened to me, and I was by myself when this happened, I was at our desk downstairs, which was also in the living room, and I'm typing whatever, it's late at night, I'm on the computer, and in my on the monitor, I see a shadow come in from the side, so it's just, coming in this way, and I stop typing and look at and see the shadow, and I'm like, and I get scared for a second because I thought somebody had come through the kitchen and was walking behind me, so I turn really quickly and look behind me and there's nobody in the room. But directly across from me, so like if you can imagine a picture behind me on this wall, I see this thing moving through the reflection in the picture behind me. So it had started in the room, walking, and then when I turned around, there's nothing in the room, but in the reflection in the picture behind me, I still see it walking through in the reflection. And the best way to describe what it was that I saw is a black shadow man, like a basic outline, that was filled in. It was shadow, but it's darker than a normal shadow. It's more black and you can't really see through it. Whereas a shadow, you can see, whatever is that's behind it, the road or a wall or whatever. It wasn't like that. You couldn't see through this shadow. It was more of a solid shadow that directly matched that of a man. So that was the first big thing that happened, and that was the first time I saw the shadow man. And weirdly enough, I remember thinking when I saw it, well, that's weird. Just kind of nonchalant about it. It wasn't really until the next day when I was really thinking about what had happened that I'm like, okay, that's really bizarre. I don't know how to explain that. 2.5 months after we had moved into this place, that they were moving. The people that were connected beside us to the left were moving. Now, the way it was set up, these townhomes were all connected. So it was in the shape of a U. So you had a line here, a line there, and a line here, and it made a U shape. We lived in this part of the U, and then our neighbors lived right beside us. She was an older lady, and she was moving out. I'm like, have you ever seen anything odd in the house or anything like that? And she goes, no. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then she goes, but my family and friends did. And I'm like, excuse me? You have my attention. She goes, yeah, they thought I had a pet. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she said, well, I don't have a pet, but they would see this black thing like run across the floor and it would disappear into the wall. Okay. Alrighty. This incident happened to both of us one night. So I was getting ready to get into the shower. I remember being in my bathroom, getting ready to get into the shower, and I'm turning and I see a bright light, just real quick gleam of light sort of go by and disappear. And I turned and I'm looking around and I'm thinking, well, that was kind of weird, but I'm like, it's probably just a reflection off something shiny. The light caught it, whatever, not thinking it's anything really. So I get in the shower, and when I come out, my roommate is banging on my bedroom door. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? And all I hear is her going, Cyan, what's wrong? What's happening? So from her perspective, a few minutes prior to that, she is downstairs in the kitchen. And again, our kitchen is here. Living room would be over here. So you come in the living room, you can go straight into the kitchen. She's on the back wall doing laundry. That's where our washer and dryer was, against the wall here. So when you're doing laundry, you can literally see through to the living room because the doorway's right there too. So you're adjacent to the doorway. You can see into the living room to our front door, basically. So she's in there doing laundry. This is her side of the story. She's stuffing a comforter into the washer, and she's talking on the phone at the same time. So we had the handset, the handheld handset back in the day. So she's talking on the phone. She's pushing this comforter down into the washer, and she sees someone in the living room throwing their arms up, just agitated, really upset, throwing their arms up, fed up with something, kind of stomping around. And then she finally sees them and hears them stomp up the stairs. Well, of course, she assumes it's me. And meanwhile, I'm in the shower. So as soon as she gets off the phone, she comes upstairs and starts banging on my door to see what was wrong with me. Well, I'm coming out of the shower. I hear the bangings. I open the door, and she's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, I saw you downstairs. You were really upset, and you were throwing your arms around, and you stomped up the stairs. And she's like, what's going on? And I'm like, and I'm standing there with a towel on. So I'm like, I just got out of the shower. And I said, I wasn't downstairs. She goes, you weren't just downstairs just now, just a few minutes ago. I'm like, no, I've been in my bathroom, for the last whatever minutes. And then I was in my bedroom before that. She goes, and she stops and she's thinking about it. She goes, but I saw you. And I'm like, no, you didn't. And then we're like, okay, what just happened? So we're sitting and trying to figure out what happened to both of us. And I said, what's really weird? Right before I got in the shower, which would have been right before she saw this frustrated person downstairs, I saw a white gleam and it disappeared. And we're both like, oh, okay. And we start talking about it. It's an orb, right? They say orbs generate first before something manifests from it, before there's spirit activity or things like that. The energy usually starts as a ball or an orb, and it manifested into that situation that happened to her downstairs. And I didn't really believe in that kind of thing, like haunted places, and I didn't really think about it. I don't even know that I didn't really believe it. I just never really thought about it until it happened to me. And then you're in a situation where it's hard you stop finding logical reasons for things to be happening. Like, how do you explain that? We're not on drugs. We've had maintenance people in and out of there. There's no, I don't think there was gas in that place anyway, but there wasn't like a gas leak. I mean, there was no logical explanation at that point that we could come up with for what was happening in the house. To me, it doesn't even seem real sometimes that all of that happened. It just seems like a story that you tell. And it's like, did that really happen to me? And it did. But it's I don't know. It was just such a bizarre, weird time though. And I'm trying to think. So those things happened. And then, there was always things too where, like at the top of the stairs, there were several times I would be at the top of the stairs and I would feel someone right behind me. And so you felt like you were in danger all of a sudden. And then you felt the presence of someone behind you at the top of the stairs. And that was creepy. Some other things that happened to me. I was watching television downstairs. I was alone. And the light... That was another thing too. Oh wow, that just brought back a memory. The light in this stairwell was always going out. It would never, you couldn't keep, like they would put light bulbs in. The maintenance guy would be in there all the time putting new light bulbs in. And they had it checked and there was nothing wrong with the wiring. Yeah, stuff like that with electrical things. But it was usually that light socket for some reason. You couldn't keep a light on in there. But anyway, the light was on at that point, and well, so we had the staircase. I'm in the living room. I'm watching television. You know, you've got that shape because you got the stairs going up, right? So there's a wall here, that triangular wall that you have, and our TV was sitting on the floor against that wall. So I'm on the couch back here watching the TV, and at the top of the stairs, all of a sudden I see what looked like a child. So I saw, and this is like out of the corner of my eye, I see this lean down and the hair fall to the side and then raise back up. And then as I glanced, like I noticed it happening while I'm watching TV, I can see it happen. And I'm like, and I freeze for a second. And then when I actually look up, it's gone. Like it had already stood back up. And I went around the corner and looked. There was nothing there. There was nothing at the top of the stairs. There was nothing upstairs. I went upstairs and checked. There was nothing there. This is one of the scarier stories that happened to me. One morning. Okay, so let me back up for a second. So I slept with a knife in my bedroom, and I used to have a little pocket knife, and something had happened to it when I moved. I don't recall the details, and I didn't have a knife anymore. So the only knife I had a butcher knife from the set of knives that I owned in the kitchen. So I left a butcher knife in my room. And I slept on an air mattress on the floor. It was a queen size air mattress because I was 19 and that's what I did back in the day because I had no money. So I slept on the air mattress on the floor and I had a keyboard and the knife was underneath. I kept the blade of the knife underneath the keyboard with the handle sticking out. So you could only see the handle of this knife, and it was within arm's length on the floor beside me if I ever needed it for whatever reason, okay? As I'm going around the corner to the bathroom, all of a sudden, a picture of the knife just suddenly enters my head, just out of nowhere. I see a picture of the knife in my head. And I thought, well, that's weird. So I step back and look around at the keyboard to look at the knife. The knife's not there. I'm getting chills thinking about this, talking about it. The knife wasn't there. The handle was not visible. And I knew it was gone. Well, I had started to go to the bathroom, which is why I'd gotten up in the first place. So I went back around the corner to go to the bathroom. And then I realized that my bedroom door is open. And that may not seem odd to somebody, except that I can't sleep with the bedroom door open, not even cracked. I haven't been able to do that as an adult ever. I have to sleep with the bedroom door closed at all times. I do not like the door to be open when I sleep. I don't know why. I've just always been that way as far as I can remember. But the door is open. And it's probably open a good 6 inches or so. And I know I closed it the night before. I always do. I've done it for years. And I always check that it's closed. Not just close it. I check that it's like latched and closed. It's not open. So now in my mind I'm going, okay, my knife's missing. My bedroom door's open. What the hell has happened? Has somebody come in my room? Like, I don't even know what could have happened. I'm freaking out. What would you think if one of your weapons is missing and your bedroom door that's always closed is open the same day that your knife is missing? I mean, what do you think happened? And keep in mind, my roommate was not there. She was not there. As a matter of fact, I called her in my bedroom shaking, completely freaked out. And I'm trying to come up with a scenario like maybe she borrowed it for some reason. She needed to cut something in the kitchen. I mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to find some logic, right? So I call her up and I'm standing just in the middle of my bedroom because I'm afraid to go out of the bedroom because I think somebody may be in the house. And I'm like, I call and she answers. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, did you go in my room? Did you move the knife? I mean, I'm not mad if you did. Did you take it? Did you move it? Did you need to use it? Do you know where it's at? She's like, saying, no, I didn't touch it. I've not been in your room. I don't go in your room. And I'm like, this knife's gone. And I'm freaking out. She's like, what do you mean it's gone? I'm like, it's gone. It's not there. My door was open. I don't know what's happening. And she's like, I'm sorry. She goes, I don't know what to do. She swears she never touched it and never moved it, any of that. And I absolutely believe her. And we looked when she came home. There was nobody in the house. I did check. The doors were locked. Both doors. There was the windows locked. Nobody had come in the house. And I'm just freaked out. I'm just really scared at this point, if I'm being honest. I was really scared because I didn't understand what was happening, and I didn't know how much danger I was in, if any, like real danger. I didn't know. I didn't understand it. So when she did get home, we both did a search of the whole place. We didn't find it anywhere. We searched every room, even though, like, why would it have been in another room? It was underneath the keyboard in my room. Like, how would it have gotten anywhere? Like, it just didn't make sense. But we searched anyway, and we never did find it. And that thing was gone for a few months. And then she ended up doing some research online that said, it was a website that said if you feel like spirits have taken something of yours, if you ask for it back, if you are clear and ask for it back in a clear way, assertively, that they will give it back to you. Well, I know it sounds silly, but they were like, you need to verbally ask for it back. They were kind of giving you instructions on the website what to do. And we didn't know what we were doing. We just didn't. So she found that, and I said, okay, well, let's try this. So we get home that day from work. We work together as well. So we get home from work. I get in the shower, or before I get in the shower, I stay in my room and I say, my butcher knife is missing. It's my butcher knife. I want it back. Please bring it back. Please give it back to me. It is not yours. That kind of thing. And I'm thinking, well, this is ridiculous. I feel like an idiot. But I go get a shower. And then when I come out of the shower, I'm not even thinking about it. But I go to my closet to get some clothes. And when I open my closet door, the butcher knife was stuck between the baseboard and the wall in my closet. And I cannot tell you how scary that is, because I don't know how it got there. I know it wasn't there the last few months. I don't even know how to explain that. There were weird, I want to say, smudges on it, they weren't fingerprints, really. They didn't have the lines of fingerprints, but there were some type of smudge on it, like a film or something. And I did tests where I put that knife in the top of the closet, and I don't know how it would have gotten there, but let's say it had gotten up there somehow. Maybe I forgot I put it there, something ridiculous. And what if it fell off? Maybe it just fell off the top shelf in the closet and it just got stuck that way. There was no way to stick it that way. No, the handle was so fat that it couldn't have fallen at the angle. It had to have been placed there. I don't know how else to explain it. It couldn't have fallen in the way it had been stuck in between the wall and baseboard. So I did get it back. They gave it back. And yeah, I had that knife for many years after that. But I still have no logical explanation as to what happened with that knife. And no, I do not feel like my roommate was messing with me in any way. It was not a laughing matter for us. We were both scared to be in that townhome. We were both very uncomfortable, I would say. And that she wouldn't have done that, especially after the stuff, like her own personal incidents that happened there. I just know it wasn't her. There was also a night where I saw the black shadow man again. He had come in my bedroom. I remember waking up and feeling like, let me start this way. I remember waking up in the middle of the night and feeling like I couldn't breathe. And when I woke up, it felt like there were hands on my neck, squeezing my throat. And then I'm like blinking because I'm trying to figure out what's happening because I'm waking up and then I have this weird sensation and I can't breathe right. And then I see the black shadow man come across my room really quickly from like the wall in front of me and like he's near there. And then I felt that same feeling. And then I finally, it's like it let go of me. And I don't know, and I still am not certain, like 100% certain, whether that thing actually meant to harm me. I don't know what its intent was. But that happened. And I had several things go missing and show back up, almost as if something was messing with you. Like you would look in place in a specific place like multiple times for something. Like, you go through, you check a drawer, you check a different drawer, you check somewhere beside, that kind of thing. And it would be in the drawer you checked like 3 times. All of a sudden, then like the next day, it would be there. Like weird stuff like that would happen. And it's usually small objects that would happen with. And then so this was in Georgetown, Kentucky, where this happened. We ended up just going to a psychic convention that was in Lexington, and in hopes of maybe learning something about this, maybe finding some type of answers. So we go there and we're walking around. It's at a hotel. We're walking around this hotel, checking out all these different things, just looking at everything. And as we're walking and talking, a guy stops us. And he goes, you think your home is haunted? And Catherine and I both looked at each other like, what? And he was supposed to have been a psychic. And he said, it is one. And he said, there's an old lady that used to live on that property many, 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 many years ago in an old farmhouse. And she's still there. And he said, he looked at me, he said, she's waking you up. And I'm like, how does he know this? So what was happening, back up for a second here. What had started happening, I ended up becoming an insomniac. And I've never had this happen before, but I stopped being able to sleep at night. And I would wake up. It was on the dot. It was so bizarre. I would be woken up at 3, 3:30, 4, 4:30, 5. It was every half an hour on the dot. Every time I would look at the clock, it would be exactly half hour later. To the point where I became insomniac and couldn't sleep at night at all. And I was sleeping, as soon as I got off work, I would go to sleep. And then I would wake up at like 10 o'clock at night and be up. And he basically told me, he looked directly at me and said, she's waking you up. That's what time she used to get up back in the day to start doing chores. And she's still trying to wake everybody up to help her do the chores. And I'm like, okay. And he said, where you live, there is an underground stream and it runs underneath your townhome. We had told him we were in a townhome. Because there's a stream that goes underneath your townhome. And he said the energy is connected and gets kind of trapped in water sometimes. And he said that's helping to hold energies there. And it probably didn't help, too, that we lived right across from a cemetery. And there was a sign on the cemetery that they had to move quite a bit of headstones to put a road in. So the road was dividing the cemetery, and they took the tombstones that were on the other side of the road and moved them to the main cemetery, now the one that you see there. Yeah, it was just bizarre that he knew exactly why we were there and that our home was haunted, and he knew what was haunting the home. Obviously, it was more than just one entity there. And then another bizarre thing, when I explained, so the townhomes were all connected in that U shape that I was telling you about, and we lived on this side of the U. The back part of the U, I didn't realize it initially, but my hairstylist lived in that back part of the U too. And I ended up finding that out when I was getting my hair done one day. And she was talking about her son seeing a ghost in her home. And I was like, oh my God, well, I've got this stuff going on. And we come to find out we both live in the same spot. We just didn't know it. And her young son would see an old lady in their home, which was probably the old lady that was trying to wake everybody up. And she said that they never, her and her husband, but the little boy saw it, her son, and I think it was her friend's daughter. They were about the same age, the two little kids. They would both see the old lady and talk to her. And she said she had a loaf of bread fly off the shelf one day. And she just said that she always had these weird feelings in the home. So it wasn't just us that this was happening to. It was happening to several families, and I'm assuming it happened to probably every family there. I'm sure somebody in every one of those townhomes was seeing something. And I'm like, we have to go back to this property management company. I said, we need to ask them if somebody died in the house. I said, because something's causing this. This isn't normal. And she did go ask them, and they kind of just laughed at her. And no, why would you ask that? And that's ridiculous. Ha ha ha. Well, if somebody didn't die there, they died there a long, long time ago, and they are still clinging on to that thing like, I'd say grim death, but that's already come and gone. I was just glad to be out of there. I was so glad to get out of that place. And I have not lived anywhere else and had anything else happen like that. That is the only place I've experienced things. And I mean, like I said, it's just like a story to me. It just seems like something that happened to somebody else a long time ago that I know about. It's so bizarre to think that I lived through that. I just remember being scared so much of the time, especially the last 6 months. I remember being scared of that place. And when she would leave on the weekends and go away and come back, I did not want to be there alone. It freaked me out. I didn't like it at all. And it's such a weird feeling to be scared of your own home. Like, it's like, where do you go? If you can't even be safe in your own home, what are you supposed to do? But yeah, that is my crazy ass haunted townhome story. But yeah, if you guys have any questions or want to leave any comments or leave your stories that you've experienced personally below, please do so. Please also go ahead and subscribe. Subscribe to your girl. And go ahead and like this video. And of course, you don't want to miss these shenanigans. So click the notification bell and you'll get a notification every time I upload a new video. And I am sorry it's taking so long to get another video up for you guys. Check out my last video to explain what happened with the last video I tried to upload. Anyway, I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. And who knows what's going to be next on my video list. Maybe I'll do another poll and we'll get that video out this time. Love you guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.